Can someone please explain why the one thing you need is always at the very bottom of the bag? Good morning, friends. It is Sunday, 2 days since we planted all of the first row of crops, and they look good. They're all still here. I'm so excited. So you can see they're a little thirsty, but you know, they're a little droopy, but they're here. Nobody's been chewing on them. Aiden just went up to turn on the water, so it's starting to drip now, which is great. They're all still here. Can't tell you what a huge relief that is. I mean, yeah, it's still possible they could get completely destroyed over the next couple days, but I am hoping that this means that nobody can get in or is going to bother them. So we are going to transplant the rest of the trays today. Aiden's going to help me. And then he might be doing it solo while I work with Mike to get 4 of the corners of the true deer fence put up. So I brought out all the trays. We're going to start getting these transplanted. The ranunculus are starting to pre-sprout. So I'm going to leave those 2 beds open for them. I can always put them in, the other ones in somewhere else. But yeah, I'm so excited, so happy. Okay, it's the next morning. I am out at Fish Ranch. I'm sorry about yesterday's filming was pretty crappy because it got really busy and hectic. We had people stopping by and I just didn't get it all filmed. But our friend, Jamie, also my bee mentor, he stopped by and actually offered to let us borrow his electric shovel. And if you don't know what an electric shovel is, I didn't. It is kind of like a smaller size jackhammer with things you can attach, like different attachments. And that made a huge difference because what we did yesterday, in addition to Aiden and I transplanting everything, and then Aiden laid out some straw, he started to, but he had to go to work that afternoon, and he also had a lot of homework to do for today. So he wasn't out there the whole time, but so we got the transplanting done. We got some of the straw laid out in the aisles, but the main goal yesterday was to get at least 2 of the corner holes dug for the deer fence. They need to go down 3 feet, which is deep, especially when you're talking about soil that has been dry pretty much since April. So it's like rock hard, it's really hard to dig. We were starting by using our auger on the drill, and that gets a little bit in there, but not very far. So being able to use this electric shovel was awesome. And we don't have electricity out there, but we do have an electric vehicle. So we just plugged it into the Rivian, which was pretty awesome to be able to do. And it made fairly short work. It's still hard work because that thing is very heavy. And then you have to, like, in between, you know, using the attachment and like digging down, you have to stop, pull that out, and then pull out the soil with it, like with a shovel, because it's just too heavy to use it as a shovel. So, it still took time, but we were able to get those 2 holes dug, get the cement poured, and have those end posts in. So, it'll be another week before we can get back to it, but we're starting to make some progress. And we can do Mike's going to help me extend the deer fence to include those other beds, because I have direct seeding I still need to do. And I think Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to put the ranunculus in because they are pre-sprouting really well. And then that section of beds will be done. I also bought another big humane trap for rats that seems to work really well for all the reviews I saw. It's called the Ratinator. And I got one for home because there are so many in my front garden because of the chickens and the feed. At night when I go out to check on the chickens to make sure that the babies are in with the big girls, which they finally are doing, you can hear them and see them everywhere. So they're just everywhere. So I need to capture all those guys so if I have any hope of having a garden again. So we'll be doing that. And I'll also bring one of those out to the new farm site to kind of keep it rat free, to make sure that my flowers don't get eaten. So today, because basically I had hoped to be out of here this week, be out of Fish Ranch this week. So today we are going to continue to tear out the row crops and bring them down to the compost and start packing up all the things that we are going to need over there that we're not leaving here. So let me show you a little bit and then I'm going to get started because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work and I'm going to need all the time I can get. Okay, so you can see where I've already pulled out everything from these 2 rows, including the dahlias. So I have those at home and I'm going to break those apart, separate them so I have more tubers. I definitely need to do that in the high tunnel, pull out those dahlias. So this morning I'm going to finish this row, which shouldn't take very long at all. I've pulled out as many T-posts as I could personally. These are really in here. They're really, really in the ground and I need more muscle to get them out. Like this one barely moves. So next weekend, hopefully I can get Mike and Aiden out here and we can get these T-posts out and get that silage tarp, which I could technically drag off of there right now, bring it out into the driveway, but even if I can fold it on my own, which I don't think I can in this breeze, there's no way I can lift that silage tarp by myself. When it's folded, it's so heavy. So we need help to do that. But once we get these T-posts out of here and that silage tarp, then this whole section is done because everything else is staying. So I'm gonna get started up here, and then after I'm finished with clearing this out, we're going down in the high tunnel to tackle that, and that's gonna be a very big job because everything in there is very overgrown. I probably will only do maybe 2 rows today because I wanna get as much of my remaining things in the greenhouse into the truck as possible. So, as usual, you guys are gonna be on a little time lapse to watch me work, and hopefully I can make some really good progress today. It's a beautiful day. It went down to 37 degrees when I woke up this morning, last night. So it was very cold. The chickens were very cold. And right now it's about 50 Fahrenheit and breezy. So I'm actually a little cold right now. I'm in a very thin shirt, but I'm gonna get warm doing all this work. So, all right, I'm gonna put on a podcast and get started, and hopefully we make some good progress today. only took like 5 minutes. So I'm gonna wheel this wheelbarrow down to the compost pile, which is actually way down there beyond the high tunnel. And then I'll meet you back in the high tunnel. Okay, it's time to rip out in the high tunnel. And I'm ready, but I just gotta show you. I mean, when you don't harvest for many, many weeks and you just let it go, it's so beautiful. And yeah, I mean, I know some people will say, well, why don't you harvest these and send them to the wholesaler? These are all way too far gone for that. Everything's way too open, way too aged to go to the wholesaler, or even to just clients. And like all this status, this tiny little patch of status, it's like a 5 foot long patch of status, is just still exploding. Keeping in mind, I planted this in October of last year. So I haven't planted a huge amount of status out at the new farm for this reason. Take a look. I mean, look at that. How gorgeous is that status? Now, it hurts me to know I'm going to pull this up and toss it because it makes an amazing dried flower, but I have boxes and boxes and boxes of dried status already in my garage. This is better served just going to compost. Literally. This row over here, I don't even know if I'm going to touch. It is all weeds at this point, and pokey weeds at that. So I don't think I'm really going to bother much in this row. I mean, look at these. It's just, oh wow. I have to be careful. It's not just weeds. These are wasps. And I think they're eating all these aphids that are on those plants. Yeah, so I have to be real careful in here so I don't get stung. Down there is old straw flower, which is also too far gone to even save as dried. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I won't touch that today. Yeah, this is kind of I don't want to get stung, y'all. I've been stung recently by a bee and had no problems, but wasps are a different animal, literally. So then we have these zinnias. Gosh, and look, there's happy bees in there. Yes, happy bees. So I got to be careful today when I'm pulling up so that I don't get stung, just because, you know, if you accidentally squeeze a bee, they're going to try to protect themselves, as anybody would. So I got to be real careful. Why am I pulling all this up and not just leaving it for the bees and the wasps? Well, because I'm vacating the premises, and it was part of my promise, is that I would pull everything out. So I'm going to do that. Look at this basil still pumping, which is crazy because it got down so cold last night. But I mean, some of these zinnias, look, if you let them go for a really long time, look how crazy they get. I mean, so pretty, but like I said, way too open. Look at this one. It's like super blousy. So many petals on that. And then the celosia finally, like this whole row was celosia, and this is all that survived because it all got eaten. And I harvested quite a bit off of just this little bit. You can tell when celosia is too far gone. That's the seeds, but doesn't it look gross? Like if you have that, what is it, porphyria or whatever, the phobia of holes, that's pretty gross. So yeah, stuff is ready to go. I can probably harvest or, you know, pull out all this stuff without worrying about it. I don't see any wasps on this stuff, or even all that scabby and things. So I might be able to get in there. I just have to be careful. And I'm going to need loppers to get some of these stalks from these sunflowers out. And look at this. This is still basil. It's amazing. Cinnamon basil. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is cinnamon basil. This is lemon basil. Does smell amazing. And then even though I harvested a bunch, look at those. That's Saskatoon white mums. They're just astonishing. So pretty. And when they get really kind of old, look, they have the outside petals turn purple. Isn't that crazy? Oh, they're so beautiful. Again, way too far gone to go to the wholesaler. You really want to send them to your customers or to the wholesalers when they haven't even completely opened yet, because then they'll get the nice long base life. But these are way too far gone. I don't know if these bees are alive or dead, but look. Some of them sleep in here, and it's still a little chilly. They're probably alive. So they're still snoozing. All right, as you can see, this is going to be a very big job. I don't know how fast this is going to get done today. And then here, oof. So there's a dahlia mixed in with all that nasty spiny stuff. I need to pull up the dahlias. I'll cut them off at the base and pull up the whole thing so I can save the tubers and divide them. Because, you know, it's an investment, and it's doubled now because they've been here this year and they put extra tubers. So one tuber went in the ground, a whole lot more will come out. So I'll show you that when I get to that point. Trying to decide where I want to start. I don't really want to disrupt the bees. I don't want to get stung. So I'm just going to have to play this by ear and go a little slower than I normally would. There's more bee friends. Actually, 2 different varieties of bees. I don't know if you can see the difference there, but those are definitely 2 different types of bees. Okay, I'm gonna get started and I'm gonna be real careful. Last thing I need is to get stung today. Let's get going. Okay, whew. That's hard work. It doesn't seem like it would be hard work, but it's hard work. I feel like I've made some progress. So, you know, this drives me nuts. So, a couple things here. One, I would never normally let my beds get like this. This is a total aberration because I shut down everything here months ago. I would never let weeds grow like this, ever, because they're then impossible to eradicate because you see everything's gone to seed, right? So I would never let it get like this. So it looks horrible to me right now, and it's like, my struggle right now is I don't even know who's going to take over this plot, or even if it's going to happen anytime soon. And so these weeds would grow anyway, but it makes me feel like I don't want somebody to think I was a bad steward, because right now looks like I was a bad steward. Anyway, so I have pulled out pretty much this entire row except for the curly dock there, and then also there's like the other things that I haven't pulled out either are covered with wasps right now, or are extremely spiny, and you can't do it with gloves. You got to dig them out with a shovel and not touch them. So I've rolled up the Horton Nova netting where I could. Actually, there's only 2 beds that had it. I've picked up the T-posts where I could get them out of the ground. Got up all these mums over here. What's left there is just weeds. Now this is all dahlias, and I was going to pull these up today, but I don't have flagging tape with me to mark them. So this will be tomorrow, and I'll go through the process with you and show you what I do. So that's why this crate is here. And then I still have a few things here left to pull up, not much. And then basically this high tunnel will be done. I mean, it's gonna look awful, but like I said, we're going into winter. I don't know when they're gonna rent this out, and whoever comes in is gonna have to completely tear this apart anyway. So another thing I wanted to point out, when I flip beds, I never pull things out by the roots like I've done here. I always cut them off at the base and let the roots decompose in the soil. That is not only to feed the soil, but to keep the soil aerated and stuff. The reason I pulled everything out by the roots in here is that it stays warmer in here in the winter, even though it's cold, and they would just come back. And so then there would be no point to me pulling things out. And you can see how much mole or vole, I'm not sure which one, activity is going on. There's no problem with aerating the soil. And I walked on these beds, they are super mushy. So I don't think there's gonna be any compaction issues in here. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to load up the truck with some things, not a whole lot of stuff, because I'm getting tired and I'm hungry. It's almost lunchtime, or it is lunchtime. And we'll head out to the new farm. I'll unload and I'll show you kind of the wrap up of what we did yesterday. Okay, we've arrived at the new farm, and I gotta tell you, I haven't looked yet, but I am like super anxious. I'm like, I hope all the seedlings are still there. Seriously, I've been clearly have PTSD about having all the rodents get everything. And it looks like everybody's still here. But we should look closely. Okay, so these guys from the first day are still here. Thank goodness. And I watered them twice yesterday because I really wanted this soil to be nice and wet. Everything's looking good. I don't see any nibbles on anything. I mean, that was the real, that's the real test. Have things even been nibbled on? Little patch of status back here. And that's probably all I'm gonna need. So funny. Okay, so then here I've got some Omnimagus that I put in yesterday. We've got Cynoglossum, Firmament, and Blue Showers, and Clarkia. I have never grown Clarkia before. I have 3 varieties here: Shell Pink, Tower Coral, and Salmon. And then starts the snaps, and there's just a lot of snaps, which is nice because a couple years ago I had a really huge stand of snapdragons and it was so fun. I can see that I'm going to need to put a staple there to keep that from bowing out whenever the water turns on. Same with here. But soil looks good, plants look good. There's more snapdragons here, and the reason they're up here is that I just kind of wrapped around. So this space here doesn't have anything in it yet. And then down here we have stock, 4 different varieties. So planted close together. Aiden started using the straw to put in the aisles, which is great. So these 2 beds will be for ranunculus for sure. Maybe part of this bed as well. These beds over here won't be all planted out. I won't plant everything out because the idea is that I can... Having this space means that I have enough space to succession plant, right? So like if I planted everything, just packed everything full. Then when it comes time to switch things out for summer, there's no overlap. Then I pull everything out, put the summer stuff in, and then we're waiting for things to bloom, and then you've got weeks and weeks of no production. So it's really important to succession plant so you don't ever run out of blooms. So I will use one of those rows to do all the direct sowing. I've got nigella and poppies and just a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be direct sown. But that's not until we enclose it, right, with the deer fence. And I may even wait to direct sow until like March. And the reason is, even though I can totally direct sow in the fall here, I have found over the last couple years, every time I direct sow in the fall, nothing germinates until like March. So it's kind of like, well, then what's the point of putting it in the ground where it could get disturbed and or washed away if we have heavy rains, which I think we're going to. So I think I'm just going to wait and or I'll do a succession direct sow. I'll sow a whole bunch and then come back and do another sowing, and we'll just see what happens. That might be a cool experiment. So the other thing that we did yesterday is, like I told you, dig these holes. There's one post here. This is a corner post for the final deer fence. And the other one will be way down there at the end of the property, and there'll be another corner way at the end of the property, and then there's the other corner right up there. So it's about 260 feet to the end down there, and so it's narrow. We're only about 30 feet, I think, from here to there, maybe more than that, but it's very, very long. And the whole section down at the very end down there, I won't even get to starting producing on that, setting up square raised beds and stuff like that until spring, I would think. So in the meantime, this big pile of compost is going to sit here, and that's kind of annoying, kind of in the way. But I think what I'm going to do is tarp it, because I don't want this all washing away in rains. So before we start getting our rains, which hopefully will be soon, this is all going to get tarped, because I want to preserve this. This is expensive compost. I want to make sure I can keep it intact so I can use it in the springtime. All right, so I'm going to just empty the back of the bed of the truck that's just full of stuff that I brought over from Fish Ranch, and then I'm going to go home and get some food. So tomorrow, in tomorrow's video, we'll go back to Fish Ranch, finish pulling out that high tunnel and getting all the dahlias pulled out and tagged so that I can then wash and divide them. There's no rush on that, on washing and dividing them. Normally you want to wait until you've had 2 frosts to pull up dahlias. But I'm in zone 9B. We do get frost, but it's usually much later in the season, and I could be waiting for quite a while to pull those up. So I have had no problem in the past pulling them up before frosts. I mean, the plants look horrible. They're definitely, winding down, so it's fine. So we'll get that done, and probably also plant all the tulips, because they're all sitting in boxes at the house. Depending on what the ranunculus look like when I check on them tonight, because they're growing really fast now in their pre-sprouting trays. So either we'll be out here planting the ranunculus, getting this completely planted out, or we'll be planting tulips, but both of those are happening this week. All right, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.